This is Tom with the Crypto Crew. Today we're talking to Mike. Mike, we understand you have a Bigfoot sighting or encounter you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I sure do there. Go. Yes, sir.
We'll start out maybe by telling us the area, the location of the sighting, and then tell us about your sighting.
Okay. Well, my name's Mike Wooley, and my sighting happened, the encounter happened back December of 1981, and it happened down between Manny and Zwolle, Louisiana. Probably 4 miles to the west of Manny, Louisiana. I got up. I used to deer hunt a lot. I lived in the woods. I'd start 5 o'clock in the morning, and I wouldn't leave the woods till 8. I actually stayed in the woods. During squirrel season, I was looking for deer tracks and sign, and when there wasn't no hunting season going on in the summer months, I was out checking my deer stands. I was out checking the deer, see how they were moving, and I just loved being in the woods. Well, I got up one Saturday morning. I overslept. What happened? I overslept, and I woke up about 9 o'clock, and I was kind of, PO'd because I wanted to go deer hunting early that morning. It was a beautiful day. Bluebird day. Wasn't a cloud in the sky. 30 degrees, no wind, perfect weather for a deer hunt. So I said, you know what? I got some chores and things I need to do around the house, and I'll just go ahead and do it. And this afternoon, I'll just go hunt and make an afternoon hunt, so the whole day ain't shot. Well, I did everything I needed to do, and I went and got me some green pine straws, some limbs, and I always took my hunting clothes and kept them in a big plastic container that I wore, my coveralls and all, kept them separated from, the other scents, because I like to keep my clothes set free. And back then, we used pine needles, green pine needles, because they would help neutralize the scent. You didn't have all them fancy scents like you got today, the spray on and the soap you take a bath in. You didn't have none of that back 33 years ago. Well, anyway, I left, got to my deer stand about 3 o'clock. Deer stand is facing north. I would turn off the main highway on a secondary road, go back about a mile, and then I would take a left down an old logging road, which went about a mile and a half back in the woods. It dead-ended. And I would drive my truck about halfway down, turn it around, heading out, because I wouldn't drive all the way back to my deer stand because I didn't want to spook the deer, and scare everything out of the woods. Well, like I said, I got to my deer stand about 3 o'clock that day, and I noticed everything was just dead quiet. You could hear a pin fall. There wasn't no crows hollering, nothing. Just nothing. Well, I'm sitting there on my deer stand, looking north. About 3:30, this little bitty young doe, about 50, 60 pounds, come running from the east up to my deer stand and just laid down, fell out at the foot of my deer stand. I had a ladder stand, about a 12-foot ladder stand, and had a seat on it. You just leaned it up against a tree and climb up and sit down. Well, anyway, that kind of, I thought, she was wringing wet with sweat, frothing at the mouth. She'd been run hard. Well, the rut was on, and I got to thinking. I said, I'm gonna kill me a big buck. There's gonna be a big buck chasing her, and I'm gonna kill me a big buck. Well, when I looked back up from looking down at her, out of my peripheral vision to the right, I saw something hop from one tree to another tree, and to the east, where the deer in this thing come from was growed up. It was nothing but vines, overgrowth, briars, so many briars that I tried going back there looking for deer sign and thought maybe it'd be a good better spot to put a stand. I couldn't get back there. You couldn't walk back there, but the deer and whatever this thing was come from that way. Well, I'm looking at this thing, and it's great, big, tall, about 7 foot, 7.5 foot tall, at least 400 pounds, hairy, black, hairy thing. I first thought it was a gorilla, and all kind of things was going through my mind, like, is there a circus in town? No. Did a gorilla escape? No. Just my mind was answering all kind of questions. Well, I'm sitting there looking at this, and I'm like, golly, I got to be dreaming. This can't be for real. It wasn't 15, 20 yards from me, maybe 50 feet, right there on top of me. And I think what happened, he was running that deer, a little deer, and he wasn't looking up till it was too late, and when she come up to my deer stand, laid down, he was right there on top of her. He looked up and saw me. Well, he was standing behind a tree looking at me, and I'm like, I'm dreaming, this ain't real, and so I took 3 breaths, closed my eyes, exhaled, and I looked back, the thing's still standing there. I said, oh man, whatever this is, But first thing hit my mind, it was somebody in a suit trying to scare me off my deer stand, because I didn't believe in Bigfoot, and I'd heard a few stories back, out in California and around, but I thought that was just California, somebody trying to make some money. Well, I start talking to this thing, like, take your head off, get out of here, this ain't funny, because back then, the land was free range. The timber companies owned the land, but there wasn't no hunting clubs yet. I mean, you could hunt the land, provided that you got there first, you got your deer stand set up, but people would tear down other people's deer stands. They would play jokes trying to scare them off the land, where they can hunt the land. That's what I thought was going on. Well, I'm talking to this thing, and it's looking at me up and down, just like it's trying to read my lips. Well, I'm like, I started getting frustrated because he won't leave, and it starts giving me these dirty looks, just god awful, evil, satanic looks. I mean, everybody asked me, what was you scared of? The looks or the eyes? The body size or the eyes? Well, actually the eyes, because the eyes was the meanest eyes I ever saw in my life. If looks could kill, I'd have been dead. But anyway, this thing's looking at me real hard, and it clicks its teeth at me. I mean, it showed me, he must have showed me his teeth 4 or 5 times. I don't know why he showed me his teeth, and he would click them at me. And blinked his eyes. I don't know why he blinked his eyes. But he kind of had a low growl, like a low growl. And I'm sitting there thinking, if there's somebody in a suit, boy, he's doing a good job. And something just come over me, like, I don't know what it was, but he just said, this is a real deal. You're in a situation. And then I thought, what am I going to do? Well, I don't know what happened, but I got real scared. I got really scared. Man, I tell you what, my teeth were rattling, my knees were knocking. I mean, I was nervous. I got real nervous. I was clammy, man. I broke out in a cold sweat. My stomach got tore up. I thought I was going to vomit right there on the deer stand. I was shaking. I was upset and scared to death. So I've got a 270 deer rifle, 3x9 scope, and I turned the scope down to 3 power because I'm going to look through that scope at this thing and make sure, what it is, and so I first thought, well, maybe I had read a book about a week earlier about feral humans, and I thought, God, this must be one of those feral humans, because the face looked so human. I mean, it looked like a man dressed up a gorilla suit. But anyway, this thing was bipedal, so walking on 2 legs. And I took my rifle and I looked through the scope, and I put the crosshairs right between his eyes. Of course, I was shaking real bad. Well, when I did that, I could really see. I seen his eyelashes, his eyes, all that. And, you know, it was cold. And you know when it's cold, you breathe out, you know how the air will come out of your nostrils and go out. And anyway, that was happening. And anyway, I was, you know, looking at the thing, and when I put the rifle on him and the scope, he growled real loud. I mean, he got mad. He got really mad. When I pointed that gun at him, he went ballistic. I mean, he went hostile, and he got really mad. He started giving me some real dirty looks, and he let out a real roar like a lion. And about 100 yards to the northeast, there was a shrill whistle come back. And he looked over that way, looked at me, and then he looked back, and he whistled back. You know, and I've heard that whistle 100 times in the woods. And I always thought it was a bird, some kind of bird whistling. But it was him. You know, he was whistling back a signal. Well, when that whistle come back, and he whistled back, he kind of looked at me in a sheepish grin, if you will. And I heard movement, bipedal movement coming from that direction to my deer stand. Well, I thought, okay, his buddy is on his way, and they're going to ambush me. So I knew I had to do something, and I had to do something quick. I took some steps down the deer stand frontwards. I got about 3 or 4 foot off the ground. I jumped down. Well, I was about 26, 27 years old, about 160 pounds, 6'4", I had long legs, and I could run, I could move. Well, I tell you what, that day, my legs felt like they weighed 150 pounds, 200, 300 pounds, because I just couldn't hardly move. Well, I started running to the west to my truck, and as I started running, I looked, something told me to look on my left shoulder. Well, I looked over my left shoulder. I'm running down a logging road. This thing is running to the left of me, chasing me. He's in the woods, and he is just bulldozing the brush. I mean, he's having to run through the trees and the brush while I'm running up down the logging road. Well, he's chasing me, and he's about beside me almost, and he is just knocking down with his fist. He is knocking down brush and limbs, stomping. And when I saw how he was doing that, I said, oh my God, I'm dead. He's going to kill me. Well, I run on, and I'm coming up on my truck, and I get to thinking, what am I going to do? Because when I stop to unlock my truck, he's going to jump me from behind. Well, when I get up to the tailgate of the truck, I swing to the left with my rifle, and I fire a shot as a warning shot. And the bullet, unbelievable, the bullet hits about 7 foot in front of a tree, about 3 foot from his head. The bullet was about nose level with his face, about 3 foot in front of his face. It blew bark on him. I mean, I couldn't believe how close the shot got to him. If he'd have been another 2 seconds, he probably would have got hit dead in the head. Well, that buys me some time. I get in the truck, this old pickup, old hunting truck, and I'm burning out. I'm getting out of there, you know. Well, I look in my rearview mirror, and lo and behold, I didn't know it, but the one that was coming, that he had signaled, that was coming over there, had been running, chasing me from behind. I didn't have a one, I had 2. And they run up there together, and they were looking at each other and looking at me as I was driving off. down no long enough. I mean, now, I was in withdrawal for years. I mean, I didn't know if that was some kind of omen that was sent down to me as some kind of message or what. But, 45 years of deer hunting, I seen after that, I moved my deer stand over about 7 miles to the west, and I seen a few more off my deer stand moving through the woods. I didn't have no aggressive encounters like that, but I learned a lot from them, how they would get in cedar trees and ambush turkeys. They would hide in cedar trees, and as a turkey would roost in a cedar tree, they would jerk him down. And I looked at a cedar tree one day after I seen one get out of a cedar tree, and I saw big butt prints where he'd sat down, eats a turkey on the right side. Meticulously, there was a big pile of feathers that had been stacked for quite some time. On the left side was bones meticulously stacked, and I seen a lot of different things in the woods, but that encounter where I got chased out of the woods, I don't deer hunt no more because I tried deer hunting, but I just got to look at the creatures, and any little limb would break or twig would snap. I looked, and I just couldn't enjoy it no more. I mean, at my home after that, at nighttime, I would shut the curtains because I just got the jitters that maybe one of those things was looking at my windows, it's something, I mean, it really, it changed my life. It's a life-changing event. And, I used to think that, when I went in the woods with that big high-fired rifle, that I was king of the woods, But, I mean, I had to change my thinking on that.
Well, those two that chased you, was they both males? Could you tell they was both male creatures?
I think they were males because they were really big and built up. The one that I got an encounter with, I mean, he was bowed up. I mean, he had big pec muscles, flat stomach. He was built for business, and he was an awesome specimen. I mean, he was muscular, and they were about the same height. And I think it was a hunting party, and they were hunting. And I think number one, they got mad because I blew their dinner. And I think number two, I was sitting up about 12 foot on that stand, and my scent was above his head. He couldn't smell me, and he just run up there on top of me, and I blew his cover, and I think that PO'd him.
Was both the creatures the same color?
Yeah, they were jet black.
Jet black. When you was looking at the one in the face, can you describe its face, maybe what its eyes looks like, or its nose, or its mouth?
Eyes were brown. There wasn't no light in eyes. He had a high forehead. He had high cheeks. It was just real human. This lady in San Antonio, Texas, Sabella Christian Irwin, she's a sketch artist. She contacted me and asked me if I had any sketches done yet. And I said, no. And she said, would you like for me to do it? And I said, yeah. Well, she sent me some pictures of some different faces and bodies, and she said, if you'll work with me, we'll keep trying. We'll get this thing right. Well, it took, several times and several different changes, but she got it right. And if you would like for me to send the body and the face and all the sketches to you to see, she got a good mug shot this thing, and I'll be glad to send it to you.
Yeah, if you don't care, just shoot that over to me in an email, and we can use it on the in the story if she don't mind.
I'll sure do it.
Because that sounds like you was in a very scary situation.
Well, when I was running to my truck that day, 1,000 things went through my mind. I thought about my wife. I had a little boy. My little boy was about 6 years old. I said, I wondered if I'd see him again, and all kind of stuff just went through my head, you know. And I thought I was dead.
Going back to the whistle, can you describe the whistle a little bit to us? What kind of sound that maybe it's close to, or?
Well, I can't really whistle. I had surgery on my mouth a while back, but it was a shrill whistle. I mean, man, it was just, it was ear piercing. I mean, it was one of them. I mean,
Real high pitched?
high pitched, but shrill.
Huh. Well, without a doubt, we've all probably heard it in the forest if we've been out much and didn't even realize it.
Right, sure have.
That was a very interesting encounter. Did you go? How long was it before you actually went back to that area?
Well, it must have been about 2 weeks. I asked a friend to help me go pick my deer stand up, and I had a pipe deer stand made out of pipe, and I had it locked with a big heavy-duty chain and a lock at the top where nobody could steal it. And me and a friend drove back there in his pickup, and my deer stand was completely wrapped. Something that took my deer stand and wrapped it around that tree like a vine. I mean, it looked like a vine growing, and there's no way 5 or 6 men could have done it. I mean, and my friend looked at it and he said, Mike, he said, what's going on here? He said, are you telling me everything? And what I mean by that, the deer stand had trees around it for, you know, to have a little cover. You could not have got a truck in there. You couldn't have got a four-wheeler in there because there was trees there. I mean, if there'd been one tree kind of by itself where you could got a truck in there and maybe tore it up, maybe, and turned and just drove around the tree, but you couldn't do that because there was other trees there.
Wow. They sure didn't want you in there hunting no more.
No, they made sure they escorted me out of there.
Well, I know a lot of times I've heard other deer hunters talk about being out in the woods because, you know, when you deer hunt, normally you're by yourself when you go, and you find you a good spot and you just sort of sit there and wait. And I've heard other people describe hearing things, and I even had a friend who it was real foggy, and he could hear breathing, and he could never see what it was, but quick as it got daylight, he said, I got out of there. He said, I noticed something wasn't right.
Well, I was on my deer stand one day at that other location right after that happened, and I built another new stand, but I built this one out of lumber, and it was about 14 foot tall. And I got on that stand about 5 o'clock, 5:30 one morning, and I hadn't been on it no more than 30 minutes, and I heard walking behind me, bipedal walking, and I first thought it was another hunter, but it would walk a little bit and stop, you know, like take 2 or 3 steps and stop for about 5-10 minutes. And I'm sitting there on that stand, you know, and I looked back at her, and I didn't shine no light. I didn't see no light. And something actually, now, it was black, pitch dark. I could not see. Something bumped my stand, you know, actually bumped it. And I just remained still. I mean, I didn't turn no light on. I didn't do nothing. And, you know, I don't know what it was. But I sure was glad to see daylight get there.
Yeah, well, we used to coon hunt a lot, and we've been in some scary places. It's odd stuff happens, and it's a unique experience, so to speak.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Going back to the one you looked through the scope and seen the face, did the teeth, was the teeth more human-like, or were they more longer canines like a dog or a monkey or something like that?
They were human-like. They were wide, flat, and big.
How about the hair on the face? Was the cheekbones covered, or the nose, or?
This particular creature, he didn't have a lot of hair on his face. He had a little hair, but if the hair on top of his head was long. I mean, it was hanging down over his ears, on his shoulders. His face, his skin tone, was real, kind of like somebody that had got a really horrible, a really bad sunburn.
Well, I've heard them described, their face described. I've seen people where they described them as being hairy, and then I've seen where, well, like the one my dad seen, the cheekbones and stuff really didn't have no hair on them.
Right. This one didn't. This one really didn't have no hair on his face.
And my dad seen this one he seen. He was real close to it too, and he could see its eyes and all that stuff. And it's just an amazing thing to think that these are out there, and a lot of people just won't believe it until they see one.
Right. And, you know, there's a lot of people out there that have seen these creatures that won't come forward because they're afraid of the ridicule.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, the most enjoyment that I got was when I was deer hunting. When I was out there in the woods checking my deer stands and checking for deer sign and seeing how the deer were moving. I mean, I live for that. I mean, man, I couldn't even sleep at night. I get to think about going deer hunting, you know, or something like that. I couldn't even sleep. I mean, man, that was a high that I got.
Well, now that's the way I was with coon hunting. We used to coon hunt all the time when I was growing up, and man, we'd stay out all night long, and I'd miss school the next day, which was even the extra bonus, and we just, you know, really enjoyed it.
Yep. Well, you know, this encounter really took a lot away from me. I mean, it stole the enjoyment that I used to have deer hunting. I was there one day hunting, and not far from there, probably a mile from where this encounter happened, and shot a really beautiful 7-point buck. One-shot kill, and checked him, and the deer was dead. And I went to the truck to get the four-wheeler. Probably gone 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, and got back there, and the deer was gone. And there was nobody else hunting near me within miles, 4 or 5 miles, about 2 or 3 miles. And I got to looking real close, and there was no drag marks. Another animal like a bear, so we don't have bear, you know, would have drug it off, you know.
Right.
But there was no drag marks, nothing. Whoever got my deer, and I feel like I know who did it now, picked the deer up and just literally walked off with it.
I'd say that happens occasionally because you know, a lot of times if you shoot a deer, hit a run so far, and you got to sort of track it back down, and sometimes you never find it.
Right. Well, this deer dropped in his track, so I made a good shot.
Yeah, somebody stole it and got a free lunch there, I guess.
Yeah, I think one of the Squatch boys stole that one on me.
Yeah, he was the hero of the day when he got back.
Yeah, he made some points with the group.
Well, anything else you'd like to add, Mike? I really appreciate you telling your story, and it sounds like it was a good encounter.
Well, I just hope nobody has to go through what I did, what I went through, because it changed my life, and it messed my deer hunting up. I mean, I can't hunt no more because I can't focus on deer hunting. I mean, I'm looking for these creatures now, and I know they're there. And you know, I done had deer stole from me, and advise anybody, you know, if you're ever in the woods and you have an encounter like I did, don't point no gun at the thing. Don't point no finger. Don't make eye contact. Just slowly, if you can, kind of back out of there real slow. And when you get enough distance between you and him, and you get out of sight where you can't see him no more, hightail it. You know, don't engage this creature because they got buddies out there. You know, and you know another thing hit my mind when I was running towards that truck was I gonna have any more coming from the west. You know, that's what really scared me because having them, you know, coming from the east, you know, trailing me was bad enough. But the thought did go in my mind if I was going to have anything, you know, coming from the west.
You're waiting on you at the truck.
Yeah.
Let me ask you another question. Sort of brought to my mind. You mentioned when you pointed the gun at it. Do you think it understood that what the gun was and what it was capable of?
Yes, I do. Because it got too mad, and it was looking at the gun after that, and he just he went ballistic. I mean, the eye stare, that it was satanic. His eyes were satanic. They were devil. I mean, mean. Just he kept showing me his teeth, you know, and clicking his teeth, and growling. You know, had a low growl, and then he let out that roar, and man, he was getting froggy too. I mean, you know how them runners do before they launch and take off before they run. You know, they squat down and get that. He was kind of squatting down a little bit right there when I jumped off that stand. That was one of the reasons I jumped off that stand, because he was getting froggy. He was getting ready to come, you know, and he let me know in no uncertain terms that he was afraid. I mean, it was like, I mean, you make your play, and I'm going to make my play. We fixing to do some business.
That was just, I don't know. I'm sure that was terrifying for you to have one that close and to be aggressive. I've heard many people describe them as really being as a nuisance.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I thought I was in big trouble that day.
I think some of them have different personalities, much like humans. Maybe some of them's not as aggressive as others and things like that. But a hunting party, if they was actually hunting that small deer, I would see them being probably more aggressive than just a casual one walking through the forest.
You know, I feel the same way about that. You know how you got, in the human race, you've got good people, bad people. You've got people that are nothing but natural born thugs, and they're punks, and they're bank robbers, and they're just crooks. I mean, you know, and I think this was just a young punk that day I run into, and he was trying to prove himself, and he just he wanted to try me.
Well, I'm glad you got out of there without having to shoot one and without getting injured yourself.
Well, you know, I tell you what, I really got worried because I early thought I was going to be hurt real bad or killed.
Well, I'm glad it didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, well, it's I got a real big respect for them. I won't, you know, you won't see me out there trying to kill one or mess with one.
Well, that's me. I'm not interested in shooting one other than with maybe a camera or something like that.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Well, I appreciate you telling your story to us, and if you don't care, don't forget to send us over that photo that drawing, that artwork.
Okay, I'll send you the artwork.
If you have anything else you'd like to share with us, just email us or call me or send me a message and I'll call you or something.
Okay, well, look, I appreciate, this, and, I've met a lot of good friends in the Bigfoot community and made a lot of good friends and met some of the best people in my life, and made a lot of good friends.
There's some good people in Bigfoot, but seem like they're overshadowed by the ones that make a lot of noise and controversy. But there's some real good people out there. You just sometimes you gotta dig to find them, but they're there.
Oh yeah, just like you said, sometimes you gotta dig to find them, but they're there.
Well, I sure do appreciate it, and if you need anything else, just email me and let me know.
I sure will, Tom. Well, I appreciate you, buddy.
All right, you too. Now you have a good day.
Have a good weekend.
You too, bub.